Liz, and I am the knitter, artist, knitwear designer from Elizabeth Street Studio. And this little video podcast is a new project for me. I post most of my work just on Instagram, and obviously on Ravelry. I have patterns for sale there too. But I was looking for kind of another way to challenge myself creatively with something maybe a little more long form. Instagram always feels like you need to be fast and have something new to show every single day. And if you're a knitter, you know that knitting is slow. It's a process. And I was just looking for another way to engage and build some community with a way that was just a little bit more slower, that seemed to fit the pace of the actual craft of knitting. And I don't know if anything technology-wise is slow, but something like a video podcast felt like it would be more in that vein and maybe be just a different way to share my work and to engage with other makers as well. I have been kind of thinking of a way to get away from Facebook and Instagram a little bit more, instead of depending so much, especially on Instagram, to build a community and a business with my patterns. So here we are. I'm trying something new. I have also done a lot of video work for my full-time job, and I thought this would be a great way to kind of challenge myself, step out of my comfort zone, and use that experience that I've gotten for my own work in my personal life. So here we are. We're trying something new. I recently discovered a couple of knitting podcasts, video podcasts from other makers around the world, and it's been so fun to hear their voices and see their faces, and feel like just to enter their worlds a little bit and see what it's like for them as makers, and see, even though you might be halfway across the world, how similar parts of your life are. And that's just been a really fun experience. So I thought, why not share my own voice and my own work in that same way? So here we are. I'm going to share today a couple of the works in progress. The one that I'm knitting right now, I purposely saved some really simple knitting so that I could sit here and do this while talking, in case I get a little nervous, because I still do. Like, being on video used to be like one of my biggest fears. Like, literally I was terrified of it. And now I like do it weekly as part of my job, and I'm sitting here talking to you, so it's just kind of funny how that happens. But this sweater that I'm working on, this is one of my current in progress knits. It's just a personal project for fun. My goal this year was to work a little bit more on my color work. And this is the Fern and Feather and Fern, I think. I might have to look that up. Feather and Fern pattern from Jenn Steinglass, Knit Love Wool. I absolutely love her work. I've been following her for ages, and I had yet before this pattern to knit one of her sweaters, and so I thought this particular pattern, the Feather and Fern, would be a great first colorwork yoke sweater, and I am absolutely in love with how it's looking. I am so proud of that. I've done a few hats before, and I can tell my tension is something that I do have to practice a little bit. Like you can kind of see, especially right at the end there, I got a little off. I was getting too excited. But I'm really excited with how these colors are looking. I'm completely obsessed with this like burnt orange color. As you can see, I'm like also wearing a shade of it. Like, if you look at my Instagram feed, it's like all this color right now. I just knit a shawl that's hanging right over there in the same color, but there's just something about it. It's just so rich, and it's autumny and cozy and everything. So this yarn is Cascade 220. The colors are, let's see, ginger, I think. I don't know. It's 2414 is the color number. I thought it had a name, but I guess it's just a number. 2414 is, maybe that's the white contrast. I want to say this color was ginger, and I might not have the ball bands in here anymore. I don't remember. But so it's this kind of gingery orange color and this just nice kind of a natural white. It's not stark white, but it's close. But I think it's just enough of a natural so that it's not too harsh. I don't like when that happens. So I've done the yoke. I love that the neckline is already finished. That is so satisfying. So satisfying. So it's just a simple round rolled neck and then all of your color work. So I finished that and I just divided for the sleeves and I'm doing a couple inches of body. That's how much I've got right now. A couple inches of the body before I start the shaping. And I'm not sure how much shaping I'm actually gonna do because I do want this to be relaxed and I might crop it just a little bit so that it's not overwhelming. Because I chose a little bit more ease than I usually do. I like things to be a little bit loose and comfy, but not overwhelming. So I'll see. I'm just gonna try it on as I go and just kind of play it by ear. But the pattern actually does have quite a bit of waist fitting so that it's nice and fitted. But I'm gonna play by ear how much of that fitting I will actually do. Because the rest of the sleeves and the body are just straight in the main color and they're just straight stockinette except for the ribbing. So it's a nice, easy, kind of a mindless knit. When my brain gets tired from working on my own designs, I have something else to work on that I will absolutely enjoy yet this winter. I live in Wisconsin in the United States and it has been really, really cold. I don't think it's been over 10 degrees here. And it's been snowy and icy and like the roads haven't, I think they cleared up once since we got all of the ice and snow over a week ago now. And I think today it was supposed to be like minus 12 or 15 this morning. So it's been really, really cold. And so having something cozy that I know I can wear yet this winter is a good way to deal with the crazy weather. So I'm working on this one. The other kind of personal knit that I thought I would show you is something that is already finished, but I dug it out of my drawer this last week and realized I had never put buttons on it. It is the Carbeth cardigan by Davies. And I finished this, oh my goodness, probably over a year ago, probably a year and a half ago, 2 years, I don't know. But my favorite thing is the shaping at the back. I love that shaping, the V right here. That is just, it's so beautiful. And I need to make a pullover. This pattern was really, oh, Kate's work is just beautiful. You have the neck is really cozy. It's folded over and then I think you just like slip stitch. I don't even remember, but it was so simple. Like I was like, that looks complicated, but it was not at all. And then it's also cropped. So it comes more to your natural waistline than your like hip line, which I actually really like because I think I could wear this with dresses and things like that. I don't even remember what I knit it with. It was not Kate's yarn line that she had, or that she has. It was something that was actually meant for a whole different project, but that project got frogged. And so I was able to, I had enough to make this sweater and I was really happy about that. It's like, I've hardly actually worn it and it's pilling a little bit, but yeah, it's the nature of the beast. So I need to find some buttons for this. So if you have any suggestions of where you like to shop for buttons, let me know. I can't remember the last time I got buttons, and the place where I would have bought them the last time has since closed, which is really sad. So I do need some buttons for this, but I thought this would be a fun project to show you if you were thinking about or need a simple, warm cardigan. This absolutely fits the bill, and it would work just as well with jeans as it would with a dress, I think, or a skirt if skirts are your thing. And making knits that can fit into my everyday wardrobe is a huge inspiration for me. I never want to knit or design something that I wouldn't want to wear. So I've learned that when I started knitting. I would pick these crazy patterns that looked really pretty, but then I'm like, how do I wear this? And like, you just spend all of that time and money and effort with something that you don't wear. And I was like, well, that's sad. So I really try to focus on things that I know that I will like, even if maybe they are not the most popular thing, that I will wear and I will enjoy in my own wardrobe. So that's a little bit of my design philosophy. All right, let me show you the projects or my own patterns that I'm working on. The first one is my first sweater pattern, which is so exciting. And I'll just be honest, this process is very slow and it's taking a lot longer than I thought it would. But you know, full-time job, other things in life just sometimes have to take precedence, and the way that my creative energy works, it really comes in waves, and it's there in spades one day and it is gone the next. So I'm just working on finding a rhythm with my own creative energy, and especially with doing your own patterns, and especially with a sweater. There is all of the math and the spreadsheets that go with that, and sometimes my brain is just not in a place to focus on that, and that's okay. So I'm learning that maybe I need a couple of different things going at the same time so that I can pour a little bit of energy when I have time into the thing that fits what I'm feeling, if that makes sense. Because I'm not always in the mood to go jump into a bunch of spreadsheets and work on grading a certain part or pattern writing a certain part of the sweater when, you know, it's like 7 p.m. on a Thursday evening and I just kind of want to let my mind go on something simpler. So learning to give myself grace in that way and make my creativity a practice in a rhythm rather than trying to churn something out at the end of every week or every day or even every month, whatever that might look like. So yeah, those are just some like creative thoughts that I've had lately. But anyway, so this is taking a long time and I'm learning to be okay with that. If I would have had my way, I would have had this out months and months ago. But it's a huge learning curve. Like every step along the way, I'm learning something new in the process. And this sweater started with Claire from Sister Mountain. If you follow her on any of the social channels or read her blog, she has a sweater design school, and I signed up for that last year in 2020. And she walks you through every single step of the process. There is absolutely no way this would be sitting here without that class and without all of her knowledge. Like, she literally gives you the formula for figuring out the ease in your armhole, the armhole depth, the neckline, like every part of the sweater there. She gives you the formulas to figure out your numbers, to convert your stitches and your gauge into actual row and stitch numbers. There is no way I would have figured this out on my own. I am totally I don't want to ask for help. I want to figure it out myself, but I am so glad I invested in this class and have learned to ask for help in this way. It was absolutely worth it. So if you have been following her and thinking about doing that, if you're a designer, absolutely go for it. I 1000% love this class and recommend it. I bought another class about designing yoke sweaters, and so this is not the only design class that I have bought and looked at, but I can tell you 100% that Claire's is the most thorough, well-organized, well-rounded, that I have seen so far. So I highly recommend it. And that's where this sweater started. You go through the whole process of making a mood board, picking out elements that you like, figuring out the type of sweater. She goes through set and sleeve, raglan, and drop shoulder sweaters. And I know that she also said she is going to add in more sweater types as she learns and has time to, add that into the course. So if you buy it, you have access forever, and then you'll also have access to whatever she decides to add to it in the future, which I think is amazing and hugely valuable. And so I decided to go with a drop shoulder. That was the easiest type to start with. And Claire's first sweater was also a drop shoulder. So I was like, okay, that seems doable. I've knit one of those before. I can wrap my head around that. And actually the construction method is actually different than the one that I made before. And so that was really interesting. But I'm actually glad that I did that because I learned a ton about the way sweaters are made. Like, you kind of see it, and if you've knit one before, it's easier to wrap your head around. But this, I feel like I just gained a lot more knowledge, and I feel a lot more confident in moving forward, even in other sweater types. So the way it's constructed is you start by casting on. This is the back, and this is the front. Oh, our sun's already starting to fade a little bit. It's finally bright and sunny today, so I just had to take advantage. Front and back, and you actually start by casting on the back neck. So you start casting on here without the neckline ribbing, obviously. But you start here, and then if you can kind of see here, there's a line of shaping here, and there's a line of shaping here. So you cast on your back neck here at the top, and then you work outwards along both of these lines until you get to your shoulder width, which is, let me find it here, because there's no sleeve. This is your shoulder width. So you start at the back neck, and then you work and you increase outwards until you hit the shoulder width. And then you work down until you get to your armhole depth. And then you would, because I stopped here and then went back up to do the short row and shoulder and front neck shaping, but you could do whatever. You could knit all the way down and to the armhole depth, and then put everything on a holder. I just pulled my stitches off. Whoopsies, I got too excited. I'll have to fix that later. I have to rip things out anyway, it's okay. But then the part that was new to me, so after you come back to once you've knit down to the armhole depth, you come back to this line of shaping here, and you actually pick up stitches along this line, and you work 2 sets of short rows to come over your shoulder, and then you put one side on. Once you work those short rows and that shoulder shaping, you've come up to about, let's see, where did my short rows end? So we're about here. So you've come up from the back and you're kind of coming around your shoulder. It's so interesting. And then you do the same on the other side, and then you work those short rows, and then you do your front neck shaping, and then you join them in the middle. So you're working over one shoulder, putting it on hold, working over the other shoulder, and then you join them together. It's such an interesting construction, and it makes so much sense when you actually see it in front of you. You're like, oh, but it sounds confusing, because it did to me at first. But once you actually see it and hold it in your hands, you're like, oh, that makes sense. So that was a totally new way of shaping. I also did not know a whole lot about short rows, so that was a learning curve for me. I still find them a little confusing, but not as confusing and fuzzy as before. And then you join at the front, you work the front to the armhole depth, and then you join and work the body in the round all the way to the bottom, and then you come back, pick up your sleeves, and work your sleeves. So I ran into a fit issue with the armhole depth because I wanted to see what it was like So I picked up all the stitches, knit the sleeve, and realized the armhole depth was way too deep. So like there's a lot of extra fabric under the arm. I mean, you can see that's a pretty wide arm. Yeah. So I need to go back to the spreadsheets and look at that a little bit, and figure out if I put too much ease in, or I actually need to adjust the formula, because I want this fit to be consistent across all of the sizes. With her class, you are actually knitting a sweater that has 9 sizes, which I'm actually really proud of that. Again, would not have known how to do that on my own. But it's really just a matter of copying. You find the formula and then you copy and paste that across the row for all the sizes. And there might need to be some adjusting in the test knitting phase, but that's totally okay, and that's what it's for. So yeah, I need to look at the armhole depth to make sure that that will be consistent. I'm also going to rearrange my sleeve decreases a little bit. I'm also just learning what is like standard for knitting patterns and how you work arm decreases and things like that. So yeah, just there's something to learn at every single step, and it just takes time. So I really love, there's cables down the front, which I really love, just really simple. And then there are cables down the center back. They're the same 3x3 rope cable here. And then this slip stitch detail, I don't know if you can see that. It's a 3 stitches, and you're slipping the middle stitch right here. And that's also going to show up, it's hard to see, at the side seams as well. So that's going to show up on the side seams of the body as well. So there's a little bit of rhythm going on there, and then it'll just be a 1x1 ribbed neckline and cuffs, and I think I'm going to do a split hem yet as well. But I'm going to see when I get to that stage how I feel. So and this sweater, I'm already naming it Ginger. I picked up the color specifically. I designed a hat called Cinnamon, and I was like, I don't know why, but these food spice names really seem to work. So I have a cinnamon hat, so it's like, I'm gonna make a ginger sweater. So there we go. So Ginger is in progress. In progress, like forever it feels like. But one day it will be ready for testing, and it will be ready for knitters to knit their own ginger sweaters. So while this was going on, I needed something for my brain, something a little bit easier for my brain to wrap around, keep my confidence level up. It's so easy to get discouraged when you do all this work and then you're like, oh, I have to fix something. So really learning to do this for the process. So I cast on a little lacy hat. Oh my gosh, probably the middle of last week. I haven't been working on this very long at all. It's been in my mind, and I've had a swatch sitting on my little board back here for forever, and I was like, I'm finally just gonna write up this little chart and start and cast this on. But it's a little lacy, not a beret, it's just like a regular beanie hat, a little bit of a slouchy beanie. Can you see? That's a little easier to see there. But it has this really pretty lace pattern that kind of looks like leaves and chevrons. There you go, you can see that a little better. It has a V, and then it forms a leaf, and then the top of the leaf forms the V, and it keeps going. So this is one kind of repeat. There'll be one more repeat. I'm gonna see how the height of that is. I love using the ribbing to start the lace pattern. Oh, lace is just so fun. It's so addicting. You're like, oh, just one more row. I want to see what it looks like. Just one more row. Yeah, I'm loving how that looks. I can't wait to block it. Blocking is my favorite part. When I started knitting, I didn't even know what blocking was. I was like, what? You're supposed to what? But it's like my favorite thing to do now is block things. So I'm working on this little guy. He still needs a name. He, she, I don't know if it looks more like a she, doesn't it? This hat still needs a name. And I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like it has some spring vibes going on, like there's hope. Winter's not gonna last forever. Like, so I don't know. If you have any suggestions for a name for this guy? Not sure yet, but I like picking out names. That's a fun part. So this lacy hat is in the works. I'm actually almost done with it. I think I only have half the top leaf left. Now maybe 2/3 of the top leaf left. And I'm knitting it in Brooklyn Tweed Peerie. I really like that Peerie yarn. It is just so nice and smooth to work with, and it like everything looks good in it. Everything. And the color is, I think, Arabesque, which is a really fun name for a color. But I might knit another one in like a more of a jewel tone. It's interesting, the colors that I sometimes pick are really hard to photograph. And for me, seeing the photographs of a design are like, you can't put it on yourself, so a photograph is what you have to go off of. And if I see a really well-styled photograph in a color that's just really beautiful and catches your eye, like, I want it. So I know that's what catches me, and so that's what I try to give knitters. So I might have to do another version in a color that pops just a little bit more, but we'll see. So I'm really excited about how that is turning out. And I think I might be able to finish this yet today. So that's exciting. A little knitting win to keep your creative mojo going. So that's what I have in store on my needles. I think that is everything. Another goal of mine is to start a newsletter. Again, just trying to get away from depending so much on Instagram and things that are snappy fast when knitting is something that's slow and that you do for the process. And I think a newsletter could also be a great way to connect and to kind of invite all of you and other makers kind of into my little studio space, and into this creative practice so that it inspires you and we can learn from each other. So that is also in the works. I also have a fresh little website. There isn't a ton of info on it, but it's there. Step 1 is done, and so you can find details about other patterns that I published. There's some more lacy hats if you want to knit a lacy hat. Ooh, there's the cinnamon hat I mentioned. It's hanging right there. But you can pick up another lacy hat pattern to work on while this one's still coming. This is gonna be a really fun one. I'm really excited about it. So I have a fresh website, working on a newsletter, and starting this new video podcast as a new creative project, a way to keep myself accountable and to like keep making progress, making daily small steps, so that I can chat with you and show you more things. So I hope this was fun, and I'll be back soon with some more studio notes from Elizabeth Street Studio.